What makes a great digital story? 7 design principles to remember when preparing your digital story, by Carolyn Jones. So your teacher has told you that you have to create a digital story. What makes a great digital story? How's your teacher going to grade the information? Well, here are some examples and some ideas for you to remember. The 7 principles of great digital story design. The first is author's point of view. Each person has a unique story to tell. Even if you don't think that your life is unique, it is. And here's an example of a young girl from Africa who probably doesn't think what she's talking about is anything new or different, but to you it is. And it's a great example of point of view.
Vaste et utile. Si vous pouvez voir ma mère faire le lait. Une fois le lait dans un bol. Elle peut séparer le bol qui est au-dessus du lait. Ma mère fouette le lait pour pouvoir le boire. Pour rendre le goût du lait meilleur, j'ajoute un peu de sucre. Une fois fait, le lait est prêt pour être bu et je peux en donner à d'autres personnes dans mon village.
Who knew that getting a drink of milk could be so interesting? Your point of view is just as special and unique as this one. The second and third aspects of great digital design are a dramatic question and emotional content. And for example of that, we're going to a school district in Kentucky where they've listed a bunch of digital stories that their students have created. We're not going to have time in this tutorial to go through all of them, but there are some wonderful and unique questions. Like here, how is a hero defined? What is art? Are you proud to be an American? Does mom really know best? Those are great questions, and they make people be interested in the story that you have to tell. And then there are also some great examples here of emotional content. A 3rd grade student identifies her hero, a special nurse. Don't laugh at me. A special experience with a deer is told by this 1st grader. These are all stories that have great emotional content. So never forget your emotional content and dramatic question. Our 3rd design principle is the use of a soundtrack. In this particular digital story on Chinese foot binding, the author of the story is trying to be very respectful of the culture that she's talking about. So she's used some beautiful traditional Chinese music that creates a very neutral tone. And I'm just going to let you hear a little bit of it. I really want you to focus on the music in the background.
Chinese foot binding was the custom of binding the feet of young girls painfully tight to prevent further growth. Foot binding had originated among court dancers in the early Song dynasty, but spread to upper-class families and eventually became common among all classes. Bound feet were considered beautiful and were meant to make a woman's movements more feminine and dainty. Women bound their feet from the young age of 3 and continued to do so through childhood and even through adulthood. Girls bound their feet by breaking all 4 toes and wrapping them under the feet, binding them very tightly with cloth.
So you can hear that music is actually very beautiful, even though she's discussing a very painful topic. Choose music that's going to enhance your message. Our 5th design principle is that of author's voice. When you read your own digital story, you lend a powerful voice. But it's not just you reading the story, it's the words that you choose. Most digital stories are very short, so you need to choose your words extremely carefully. Here's an example of how words are painting a digital picture and how the author's voice comes through with that word choice.
13 strangers gather at a farm north of Boulder, Colorado. begin a journey together, past the farmhouse, the trampoline, and the goats, over the bridge and into the renovated hog barn. From there, our paths diverge. For some, the way is clear. Others encounter dense thickets of weeds and vines, or even a snake, and not just the garden variety. But we forge ahead, one step at a time.
The sixth principle of digital storytelling is that of economy. The idea of economy is that you use actually less is more, that you use the least amount of flashiness and crazy media to tell your story. This is an example of a digital story that's very sparse. It's actually a digital story on how to create digital stories using Photo Story 3. It's just a series of screenshots with very minimal directions, and the author of the digital story has highlighted with red boxes the information that you need to pay attention to. So this is a great example of how less is more. And the final example is of the design principle of pacing. Pacing is extremely important when you're creating a digital story. You need to, just like a regular story, you need to decide where you need to stretch and draw out and keep your reader in suspense or your listener in suspense. But you also need to decide when do you need to move forward quickly. This is an example from a website called The Moonlit Road. This is an audio story, and it's a ghost story / mystery. So you'll notice that it's very, very slow to get going because the writer wants to draw you in and doesn't want to tell you too much too soon. Let's play a little bit of that and listen.
It's now past midnight, and I have yet to fall asleep. I haven't slept more than 2 hours a night for the last couple of weeks, and even then it's a fitful sleep. Tossing and turning, dreading the moment that I suddenly hear those noises downstairs again, and my childhood fears come to pass. Why can't you sleep? My wife asks me each morning as I stare blankly into my third cup of coffee.
So there you have it, the 7 design principles of great digital stories. Author point of view, dramatic question, emotional content, soundtrack, author's voice, economy, and pacing. Good luck in your project.